What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode. Can't even see you guys. Welcome back to another episode of the Siobhan Speaks Social Podcast. I'm your host, Siobhan Patterson. And this is a show where I help you decolonize, deconstruct, and in some cases, deprogram your mind from everything that you've been raised to believe that it's, for the most part, propaganda, especially if you're living here in America. So, I want to begin with this quote that used to be a big part of how I did business, how I handled myself. And it was, and it still to a certain extent is, and it's if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. Pause. Yes, we are beginning today with a glass of sweet red wine and some other things up here that y'all can't really see, that you don't need to see. I want to make sure that this video gets shown to people. So, with that said, going back to that, cheers. My boss said that I can drink on the job. She's really cool. Also, I'm my own boss again. We have left that company. I don't know if I mentioned that on the last couple episodes, but we'll get to that maybe in today's podcast as well. But if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want too. And now that I've said that statement, yes, we are definitely going to be talking about that situation because it ties into that. That was advice that was given to me by, or not to me, but advice that I heard as a young entrepreneur. And it was a beautiful mantra to have, especially as someone who wants to create ethical businesses. I actually wrote some of this stuff down. I hope it's close by somewhere. No, no. Okay, cool. Hold on. Yes, I was journaling this morning. I want to ethically employ people. I want to create economic efficiency ethically and a lot of ease today, but ethical, employment, efficiency, economic, like those words were deep in my head. And a big part of my values is being ethical, right? Um, and being ethical. And so when I heard that, I was like, I like this. I like this. It's not the just, I got to race to the top or the by any means necessary energy that you see a lot of capitalists have. And you know how I feel about that because that very much echoes the cry of colonizers who are like, by any means possible. We're getting this new colony built. We're getting this new world built by any means necessary. So when I see by any means necessary people in the business world, I'm like, oh, that's too close to colonizer energy for me. We are not aligned. It's not going to work out. That phrase, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want, by Jim Rohn. I thought it was beautiful. I was like, all right, this is the way to go. The problem with that, though, is that everybody doesn't see it that way, and everyone doesn't experience the reciprocal benefits of this type of mantra. What do I mean by that? Well, sometimes you help people get what they want, and they really don't give a damn if you end up getting what you want in the end because they are the ones that have that by any means necessary energy, and they are by default a little bit more transactional than those of us who are willing to live by that mantra would be. I know it was kind of a heavy sentence. Is that an apple? It is an apple. It's also my weed tray on the bed. And so, whatever. What does this have to do with DEI discrimination or anything like that? Decentering. Well, I've noticed that while all of these things are happening, a lot of people are having a hard time dealing with them. And I'll start with the whole DEI thing and I'll talk about why. So, when it comes to DEI, I never got to be a recipient or someone that worked at a workplace where this was, a practice. It was just practiced. Diversity, like the places that I worked were usually really big brands and very diverse and had women of color in leadership and men of color. I'm talking about places, and they weren't the best companies always either, but they didn't have to start a DEI coalition to show that they weren't racist. Now, granted, I have not worked, aside from that little stint at Crunch that I did just so I could get my feet wet again, personal training, haven't worked for corporations since the pandemic, since I left Universal in 2020. That is, to my understanding, when a lot of companies started really pushing their DEI initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion. By now, we all know what that means. However, the situation in which I ended up leaving my most recent employer or contractor, person that I was an independent contractor with, it was the way that they dealt with my exit, the way that they dealt with me bringing my concerns to the forefront. Um, it helped me understand why DEI was necessary. Let me explain. I brought concerns with the genuine intention of helping him get what he wanted because I saw his vision. I saw what he wants to do with his company. And I know my vision. I know what I want to do with my company. As somebody said in a TikTok I woke up to this morning, you can't financial literacy your way out of poverty. You need a leg up. And so I'm very well aware that I will need people who are in the class above me to reach down and give me a helping hand, or I'm going to have to be stepping on other people's shoulders to get to the top. I don't like that one, right? I don't like having to step. I want to be pulled up, but I also want to climb up. So with that said, I'm very well aware of the communal aspect of my success, and I know that my success is going to be poured right back into the community so that I'm not an isolated incident. So I can help other women of color, other small business owners who don't have a clue, who don't know where to start, who can't see it for themselves right now. I wanna not just be their example, but possibly be their mentor and help this continue to give back. That's where I'm at. So when I see this person who's already ahead of me, and I see that they are literally going to be the leg up I need in the world, whether that's because of the amount that they pay me, whether it's the connections, whether it's just being under them and seeing someone do the thing that I want to do next, you will not become successful if you don't see it modeled out, or if you don't have a leg up in the world. So I saw this intersection as what he's lacking, right? The ability to connect with people on a level that's deeper than just transaction, that relatability, the relationship that, in my personal opinion, is the foundation of a good personal trainer and client relationship is a relationship, right? I wanted to bring my experience, my unique experience and perspective as someone that has been on the weight loss journey, as a single mother trying to lose weight, like all these things that he simply cannot relate to, right? And that's where the diversity and inclusion training would come in. Because as someone that has lived the life that he has lived, it's not about a lack of culture, right? Because there are plenty of people that are well traveled. This isn't about that. It's more about empathy that comes from relatability. You won't be able to relate with everybody with everything that they go through, especially not someone like me. Like, there's very, very few people who can go toe to toe with me with traumatic experiences and triumphs. Not That's not to flex. I'm just saying, like, I have been exposed to a variety of traumas, a variety of trials, and I'm pretty sure that my soul called this stuff in because I always come out on top. You know what I mean? That said, because I was blessed enough to have, I think also it was just a matter of choice. I wanted to have an open heart and an open mind. And I saw leaders before me not have an open heart and an open mind to understand that everyone is not going to fit into their little perfect boxes that we've talked about on previous episodes. And that there needs to be an element of patience and understanding, even if you can't relate to people, for the very fact that you can't relate to them. So you have no idea where they're coming from. So rather than disregard what they have to say or ignore their experience or assume that you know more than them, or assume that, their opinions don't matter because they're not as successful as you appear to be, whatever the case is, diversity, equity, and inclusion training would help white males like that who've come from either a very well off family or a family that didn't have to struggle with some of the things that people of diverse backgrounds have had to endure. It would help them navigate how to be an employer that is able to keep your employees, because that's the thing. When you want to grow, can't, like, you can be transactional, but ooh, what was it? I heard it this morning in my meditation, in my journaling time. How you get it is how you keep it. And so in the beginning of my business, I was in that energy that mentioned that I don't like. And I was like, by any means possible, I'll post 5 times a day. I'll go live every single day. I will be on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. I will be this. I will do that. I did everything I could so that I could reach my $10,000 a month goal, because that's what they told me I had to do. And that's what would make me feel confident in myself and my ability to do these things, whatever. But the way you get it is the way you keep it, because the way that I got it was not building sustainable systems that weren't, that would keep me from getting burnt out. It was on some go, 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 make money, make money, make money, figure it out later. And that's literally what the colonizers did. They were like, make money, make money, make money, but the country will figure that shit out later. Or they just didn't even bother to consider that there might be ramifications from exploiting people. I don't know the answer. I wasn't there. But the point is that how you get here is how you have to continue. And so if he was going to grow his business being fully transactional, then he's just going to have to continue to be transactional. But I wanted to, I saw that, let me rephrase that. Side note. For those of you that don't know, small businesses, like, the lifeline of small businesses is like referrals, reviews, and also like the bloodline, if you will, of them is their retention rate. And if you are always having to hire new people because you can't keep people, it's hard to grow that way, because in an industry like personal training, people are more loyal to the personal trainer than they are to the facility. That's why people follow their trainers from gym to gym to gym, or online, or city, whatever, whatever. But that only happens if the relationship is more than transactional. And that's what I wanted to bring to him, because the location was a reason why a lot of people were patrons there. Not because, again, the location was the reason why a lot of people went there, and it was purely transactional. This is convenient, it fits my budget, boom, boom, boom. I wanted to help him cultivate and create an environment where, one, people love working for you, two, people can get and stand behind your vision, and three, no matter where you move, because the plan was to grow and expand in the facility, no matter where you go, people will follow you. I got a client that drives from 45 minutes to come work out with me and has been doing so for years. Why? It's definitely not because I'm the most convenient thing. Like, I'm out of her way. But because of the relationship that we have built, because of the bond, here we are. And so I recognize that. I recognize that I may not have had the capital. I may not have had a lot of the resources that he had. And likewise, he may not have had some of the experiences and the exposure to diverse groups of people and situations that I had. And I thought, you know what? We can really help each other. He's helping me get what I want, which is exposure, which is the content creation in a studio gym, not a big box gym, so I don't look like no basic bitch. So they know, we both could help each other out. However, I am not a transactional person. I need relational interactions, and I also don't do business with people whose values don't align with mine. That was a 12-minute intro. But it's actually not an intro. It's a prelude. It's a setup for what we're talking about the whole DEI thing. DEI thing. Because the quote I began with was one that I got from Jim Rohn, a white male, and a lot of the manifestation methods that I learned were from a European perspective. Just the same, a lot of the male motivation videos that are out there right now, I've already posted this before, the whole entrepreneur, the mindset motivation to entrepreneur, or mindset motivation to fitness, those two things are like pipelines to MAGA. And I didn't realize, excuse me, that the boss babe thing is the same thing. Female motivation, female fitness, female entrepreneurship, but it turns into somehow into super conservative MAGA. I don't know how that happened. But the point is, both of those mindsets are super colonial methods, right? I don't know if I've mentioned this on the show before, bear with me, but I remember one of the times I started to wake up was when I realized that these manifestation methods that they teach don't apply to everyone. There's universal truths, right? Things that are true in the Bible, that are true in Buddhism, that are true in Hinduism. Like, it's just like, kind of like science and quantum physics, like what goes up must come down. Like, they're just universal spiritual laws. And when I started to look at some of these motivation mindset tips and tricks and manifestation tricks and tips and stuff like that, I realized that they could not be applied to everyone worldwide. For example, if you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want too. Women often help men, they build their businesses. There was a video I saw about a pastor was saying women's hard-earned free labor in the church and the family, like, they love our work but they don't want to hear our voices. Hey, Black people, you know all about that. So it's like, no, that doesn't usually always pan out for us. We have been known to help people get everything that they want. Like, example, as a life coach, a lot of my clients were women that were older than me, 40s and 50s, because they had already had their children. They had sacrificed their whole lives for their children. And now that their children are grown, they don't have, they feel like they missed out on years that they could have been pouring into themselves, working on themselves, putting their health first, learning skills. Like, they put everybody first. And then now they don't get to have what they want because they don't even know who they are outside of their family, their husband, or whatever they sacrificed, um, you know, for everyone else. Um, Men, though, they usually tend to benefit on that. If you help enough people get what you want, you will too. Mainly because, and not Lord forgive me, but some of y'all men, actually, y'all don't have to forgive me. Um, Sometimes the bar is so low. I see this with my own kids. Like, there are things that I expect them to do, and they don't always do them on time, whatever. But when they do them, it's like they want recognition. They want to make a big deal about it. I see this with men a lot too. Like, hey, for example, after a meeting I had with the former employer, when I let him, hear some things that could improve the environment for clients and for employees, I was sitting there minding my own business, and he comes up to me and tells me about one of the things that I mentioned to him, and he's like, "And I'm going to fix it now because it is a bad habit." and it was peeing with the door open, right where I'm 2 feet away, sitting on a futon, trying to like eat my lunch, program clients' workouts, or do whatever. The bathroom's 2 feet away from this futon, and he had to be told that you should probably shut the door when you were peeing. Anywho, he wanted like a big deal to be made about that, and I'm looking at him like I shouldn't even have to tell you this. So this is what I mean by the bar is set really low for some men, or they have set the bar low for themselves. I don't know how you want to interpret that. So whenever they do something for somebody else, one, it doesn't always happen often, right? But when they do that, it's like, oh my gosh, did you see that? Did you hear that? I took out the trash. Did you see that? Did you hear that? I shut the door and I went to the bathroom. And it's like, and because of our patriarchal conditioning, a lot of us are inclined to acquiesce to their request or go along with the bullshit. So when it comes to stuff like why is DEI important? Because someone has to sit these men down and explain to them that everywhere they go, women are not going to just acquiesce to their requests, fall at their feet, think every little thing that they did deserves like, some sort of grand attention and oh my gosh, Lord. Whoo! I'm gonna take a moment for that. Another example of why DEI is needed was because when I was a gym trainer, like in the big box gyms, every day, like when it comes to the clients that you get, you don't get to choose. You are going to get an 80-year-old man who wants to build strength. You're going to get a 50-year-old woman who wants to lose weight, look great, feel good in her own skin, and all this other stuff. You're going to have somebody who's had 8 surgeries and needs to like rebuild their core muscles. You're going to get the luck of it. Like you're just going to get whatever comes in the door, which means you get to become an expert on everyone that comes in the door, which means that you get exposure to a diverse group of people every time somebody walks in the door. And I'm thankful for that because I've been exposed to so many different types of people. That right there is a testament to why it's so important to be exposed to a diverse group of people. The employer that I left, I could tell was either only, remember I talk about people not fitting into boxes because it slows down the cash flow, or it slows down the production line aspect of capitalism, where you can just boom, weight loss, boom, give them workouts, boom, where you can just pass people down the line so that you can make money like clockwork. Having diverse groups of people slows you down, because if you have a program that worked well for you and you've just given it to everybody else who is not diverse, right? And by not diverse, I mean people who are not actually overweight, people who are not out of shape, and people who are relatively healthy that come to work out because they want a trainer. That is a very good group for him. Not for me, which is also why we weren't aligned. But with that said, when you don't have to leave your comfort zone to find out about other people, you don't. And that is what was happening there. And when I kind of shined a spotlight on that to be like, hey, I noticed some of these blind spots, because he had not been talked to or had those things brought to his attention before, it was a very humbling and possibly humiliating process. It didn't have to be. Um, but which leads me into my next like point. Whenever people are put in situations that are different, right? That they haven't been exposed to, it can be very triggering. For example, a lot of us are decentering men, been doing that, and a lot of us are decentering white people. It's called your decolonization journey. And what has happened as a result is people are feeling attacked. People are feeling discriminated. Like, oh my gosh, they're putting more black people in the Target ads now. They're discriminating against white people. Oh my God. Like when the Fearless Fund, a black female organization that was put together, a nonprofit to reward female black entrepreneurs, because we only get less than 1% of venture capital, which is free money from high net worth individuals who just want to invest in whatever business they seem profitable. No one can tell them what to do with their money, but based on the data, they only give less than 2% to women and less than 1% to black women. So we did something about it. We started our own foundation. And what did this insecure little small white man do? Because he wasn't at the center of it, claimed it was racism, claimed it was discrimination, and filed a lawsuit against them. This is the kind of behavior that we're seeing now when people who have been oppressed are marginalized, or their diversity has not been acknowledged so that they can understand, so that people can understand what their situation is, right? This is why we need Black history in schools. I made a whole TikTok about this, so many about them, that It's not just for us to know our past, it's for other people, so you can understand why we're so loud, why we're so outspoken, why we're not waiting for seats at the table, why we're building our own tables. But without any sort of context, these people have no idea what we're talking about or why we're talking about it, or why we need to have a fund that's just for Black women. That's the one that kills me the most, is when people don't understand why we have separate funds. Like this one girl tweeted, I want to live in a, or threaded, I want to live in an unapologetically Black neighborhood. And some dude was like, yeah, me too. I want to live in an unapologetically white neighborhood. Dude, for the love of God, shut the fuck up, okay? Because what you sound like right now is the European colonizers, or just anyone in history who tried to burn down a whole Black city because they couldn't stand that we were doing good on our own when we were trying to be separate from y'all. Like, what are you talking about? Unapologetically white. You live in an like the 60s. Is that what you want? You want to go back to the 50s and the 60s when they were sicking dogs on us and water hoses and spraying us down and arresting us and hanging? Like, what are you talking about? You want to go back to those times? Just say it. You want to go back to when Black people were not seen as equals? Because that is such an ignorant thing to say. Because if you understood the context and the history of how we have been oppressed, of how we haven't been given a chance, of how legislation has been created to directly impact, make our lives harder, but it's disguised in a certain way, and how you guys went out of your way to make sure that we didn't know how to read and then turn around and make fun of us and say that we're illiterate, like it doesn't make any fucking sense. And the moment that somebody wants, hey, we would like some equality, now all of a sudden you feel like you're being discriminated against. I don't think you know what that word means, because that's what we've experienced, but then you call us victims when we point it out to you. And literally my reason for leaving this man's job was because of that. I mentioned to him things that could be viewed as discrimination from someone else, didn't call him racist, said, hey, from someone else's perspective, this is what this would look like. I just want you to see it for what it is. I don't feel this way, but I want you to know. This man could not handle that. Could not handle the critique that I gave him, and turned it into a, basically I was the angry Black woman of the company. So you know what? My presence is a privilege. So without further ado, without notice, I left. Now, I washed my shirts, left them at the door, left the keys, left an envelope, and left. And because he's so focused on transactional relationships, he gave me 2 gift cards for my birthday. I left those in the envelope too, like, here, bud, because you think it's about something that it's not. I'm talking about values. I'm talking about integrity. And all you can focus on is the bottom line. So, it's amazing what happens when men are decentered, when white men are decentered. They feel like they're being discriminated against. They feel like they're being bullied. And what's crazy is that that's not what's happening. And there are white men and white women all over America right now who feel like they're victims of something. They can't figure out what it is. And it's just that people don't care anymore. It's that we're not listening to the propaganda. We're not going to let you bully us into believing our people are actually lazy, and bully us into believing that we're the ones that cause all the crime, and bully us into believing that we're the ones sucking out all the money out of the healthcare system, and we're the victims. We're the victims. No, you guys are really the victims, because your ancestors exploited generations of people to ensure your success. And here you are crying when you're at the top of the food chain, and you're still blaming your lack of success on people that ain't got nothing to do with you. So here we are. All right. I think that is good for now. I will catch you guys on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in today. Hey guys, got some exciting news. I'm officially full-time back in my business, focusing on getting my pitch deck together so that we can start pitching to investors. I don't want to pitch to investors. I just want to be frank. I'm putting it out into the universe that I'm ready to receive the funds, and hopefully I will find a good match, someone that doesn't want to distort, water down, or fundamentally change the center that we are trying to create here, Mind and Body Fitness Center. Is going to start off as the first Black-owned, female-owned facility in this little area, doing what we do on the level that we do it at. It is community-focused. It is for us. It is by us, which is why it is such a delicate situation when it comes to receiving funding. Because as I just mentioned, I don't want to be aligned with someone who doesn't share my same values, and who at the core just doesn't really understand what I'm trying to create, and will misinterpret what I'm trying to create. So, you want more details on that? I made a GoFundMe link that tells our story. You can check out the website as well, or you can simply shoot me an email at info@mindandbody.co and get some details, learn what I'm doing, just all those jazz. So thank you guys for spending the afternoon with me, or whenever you are watching this, and I'll see you next time on Siobhan Speaks Social.